You are listening to the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast, where we take an all-in, leave no doubt approach to all things adventure hunting. From the big woods to the high country.
How about that?
Let's learn together as we discuss with our expert guests on what it takes to be successful in the backcountry. I'm your host, Weston Homa. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. Today, I have on Steven Lauder. Steven's from Way Up West Outdoors. If you've seen his stuff on Instagram and YouTube, he is just another guy, an absolute killer out of Idaho. He was formerly in the military and now spends a lot of his time behind the camera and in the outdoors. So I've been following Way Up West Outdoors for, I feel like, a couple years now. The content there is just pristine. Steve is just like a wizard behind the camera. He also trains really hard. He coined the term hybrid hunter, so I kind of like that. He gets after it in the gym. He's also training to run a 100-mile ultra marathon here coming up. So we get into a little bit about that because I got my 100-miler coming up here in August, and we just talk about the significance of just doing hard things and all the growth that can come to that and why we love to do it. And of course, talk a little bit about hunting and things like that. So great conversation with Steve. Steve is a hardworking dude, somebody I think is a great role model to look up to in the industry. Just a big do-it-yourself backcountry hunter, trains hard, and makes some really good content too. So definitely go check out his stuff on YouTube and Instagram. That's Way Up West Outdoors. As for me, a lot of the same, a lot of running. Got another really good, hard, fast, long run in yesterday. Really stoked for my marathon coming up here in June. Trying to get to Boston in 2026. So that's the goal. I'm leaving for Spring Bear in Idaho in a couple weeks. So getting gear ready for that. Went out and shot the 300 the other day. Felt really good shooting that. Practice shooting prone off the pack. Just trying to simulate that scenario best I can. More content to come for there. Definitely going to do a pack dump and some other content involving Spring Bear. Also, in a few weeks, TAC. So TAC's coming up here in Pennsylvania in Seven Springs. I just wanted to mention it. I will be there. So I'm not going to have a booth or anything, but I will definitely be around. I'm going to shoot Sunday. I'll be there like all day Saturday. So just say what's up. I love connecting with people. I love getting together with like-minded people. TAC's just such a fun event. So that's the Total Archery Challenge up there, first weekend there in June 1st, May 31st, something like that. So if you're there and you see me, feel free to say what's up and talk bow hunting, fitness, running, whatever. All right, and I think that's it. So let's have a great rest of the week. Let's leave no doubt. Let's work as hard as we can. Let's get better every day, and let's run the rack. All right, here we go. The hybrid hunter-athlete, Steven Lauder from Way Up West Outdoors. Hope you guys like it. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. Today, I got Steven Lauder from Way Up West Outdoors. Steven's a guy from Idaho. I've been following along on Instagram and stuff, kind of shot some messages back and forth. And he's just another guy that's just a consistent killer, gets it done, works hard, and has got some pretty good looking content, if I have to say. But yeah, how's it going out in Idaho there, Steve?
It's going good, man. Spring Bear's about to start, and it's our long winter's finally ending. A little bit of sheds, a little bit of bear coming. So time to get out of the house and back into the woods, I guess. So
Yeah, that's always nice. What is the weather like out there? Like, is it finally things are burned off and able to?
we got snow like 2 days ago, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're like on 16th winter or something like that. I don't know. It's been kind of a little crazy this year. This year has been a pretty light winter, so the snow didn't get too bad anywhere, and it's already burning off. Like it's a pretty low snow year so far for us. But spring's coming, it's starting to warm up pretty good. We're hitting 70s and then back down to the 40s midday, just and 50-mile-an-hour winds per usual. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well, did that bear open up yet, or pretty soon?
yeah. It
Okay.
it opens April 15th, and depending on where the unit is, but ends sometime in June, depending on what unit.
Okay,
So
sweet. So before I hit record, me and Steve talked a little bit because all of a sudden here I'm scrambling, got a last minute invite, had to shuffle some things at work, but it looks like I'm going to be heading out for Spring Bear, meeting up with some guys in Idaho. I don't think I'll be around where Steve's at, but I'm going to be super pumped for that. maybe I'll save that for another podcast episode. But spring bear is another really cool opportunity, dude. And I'm sure it's like anything else, it's getting more popular. I mean, that's just anything nowadays. But a lot of over-the-counter opportunities, even for some non-residents. And then like even you, like, I mean, you have the opportunity to hunt them there in Idaho, but bounce into Wyoming and Montana. Is Wyoming over the counter too?
Yeah,
Essentially.
Montana is too. Most bear stuff is still over the counter. We still have some draw tags, and I think a lot of states still do have draw tags. Like Idaho has some like primo units for bears still. But most of the state, if like the entire state, we have spring and we have fall bear, and you can bait in a lot of units. Not all of them, but you can bait in a lot of units in Idaho. So there's a lot of opportunity for bear in Idaho. So
Yeah. To me, I think that's still, I mean, that fires me up just as much as, well, almost just as much as a mountain elk or deer hunt, dude. I think it's really cool, something to check out if people are listening and trying to find more opportunities because, yeah, things are getting harder to draw. Like tags are getting harder to buy, but still really cool hunt there.
yeah, spring
Um,
bear is it's still pretty nice. You just last year was the first year that I pulled up to my trailhead and saw another truck, and it was someone from like dude, they were from like Iowa or something like that, and they came across in a U-Haul. You know, I
oh
was like,
man, yeah.
but it was the first time. You just don't see very many people out there, and bear hunting's it's hard. I mean, there's definitely not. You don't see a herd of like 30 elk and get excited. You know, you might see a bear a day or something like that, depending on where you're at. I mean, some of the spots that I elk hunt, I've elk hunted for 10 years, and I've seen like 2 bears the entire time I elk hunting. But some
Mhm.
spots you'll see a bear a day. So it takes some time to get honed in and start finding where the bears are and everything, just like anything else. But it is nice. Bear season is nice because it's still pretty. Not a lot of people want to eat bear. I do, but
I don't get it. I
uh,
do too.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah,
eat the shit out of bear, and I don't know, mental thing or whatever. So
maybe.
people don't want to do it, but I will. So
Would you say the residents though? Like, I mean, it's not. I mean, bear just in itself isn't as popular, I guess, as elk or deer. But like, the residents aren't doing it as much. Would you say,
no,
even like in
no,
Idaho?
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah, there's not that many. People just don't get fired up about it. You get the hound hunters. They're you know
Right.
freaking diehards and stuff like that. But like for spot and stock guys, there's a few baiters that are diehards here and there. But like relative to elk hunters or deer hunters, the numbers are pretty damn small. It's nice.
That's
So
it's
a
cool,
little
man.
quiet time on the mountain.
Yeah, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Before we get way too off here, I do wanted to, if people haven't seen your stuff or heard from you, can you give a little bit of background or where you from, a little bit about Way Up West Outdoors and things like that. So,
Yeah. So my least favorite part of all this is always telling people I'm from California originally.
oh,
So
you are.
northern half, yeah, I am.
Oh, the
The
cool
northern
part.
half, it's the better half of the
Yeah,
state for sure. Like everybody views like San Francisco, San Diego, and that's what they think of in California. But you go to like Northern California, we've got tons and tons of wilderness area, duck hunting, deer hunting, black bear hunting. Back when I grew up there, it was still legal to hound hunt them, and like it was Northern California is no different than any other Western state, but it's still California. So
dude.
so
New
I
York,
left.
low key, New York's kind
Yeah,
of like that. Upstate New York has mountains and like really good hunting, farm country, good people. But they follow the
New
rules
York
of
City. Yeah,
Manhattan. Yeah,
that's
makes
all I
no
think.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead. I didn't
Yeah,
want
so
to cut
it's
you off.
California is definitely kind of the same thing, but I've been out of there for over 10 years now. I've been in Idaho for over 10 years now. So joined the Marines, and then as soon as I joined the Marines, I was the baby of the family. My parents up and sold their business and moved to Idaho, and my brother moved to Idaho shortly after that. And then as soon as I got out of the Marines, I drove straight to Idaho. So we're all here now. And then yeah, I've been hunting, and actually picked up cameras in the Marine Corps, and picked up a camera after I got out of the Marine Corps, and I've been freaking just taking pictures and video ever since. And I like the outside, and I like cameras, and they mix pretty well. So just
Yeah,
kind of dove in.
nice, dude. Yeah. So didn't grow up there in Idaho.
Mhm.
Moved later on. Do you kind of? I mean, people can just like look at your page and see that you're just one of those guys that are pretty consistent getting it done. But I've had a few guys on now, and most everybody, that's their story. They kind of moved a little bit later on to a Western state to do a lot of their hunting now. And I've asked each one just because I'm curious. Like, you remember those first couple years getting to Idaho, like all geared up to hunt elk and deer, but don't have everything quite figured out in yet? What were those first couple years like?
For elk, I was pretty fortunate. I did pretty well on elk. I think I got here just kind of right at the end of that, like before it got really, really popular. Because so my first year here, I killed an elk on like my very first elk that I ever killed, and I killed a mule deer in Nevada, and then I killed an elk in Idaho that same year, the first year I got out of the Marine Corps. And that was like September 10th or something like that. And I drove down to Sportsman's and I bought a second elk tag and then went back hunting and kept hunting the rest of the season. There's no way you're doing that now. Like the tags sell out completely. Like if you don't like, so Idaho's residents can buy two elk tags and the second one just has to be the non-resident price. But yeah, back then, like I killed one and I was like, well, I want to keep hunting. And then I went up and bought another tag and kept hunting. So I was pretty fortunate that time, but there just wasn't. I didn't run into that many people. Didn't really run into very many trucks. And just over the years, it got more popular and more popular. And but first couple of years, I was pretty fortunate. I think I kind of caught that tail end where I could kind of roam and do a bunch of dumb shit by myself and not, have people ruin it too much. So,
No,
but yeah,
I got you.
I got
That's
pretty lucky.
That's good. I mean, I can't ever deny, things are getting definitely tougher. I started just going out there from Pennsylvania 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
then even at that, I've even noticed more and more popularity with everything. But it's kind of just like you got to find. I don't know. I'm returning to another unit that I didn't see a lot of pressure this coming year, and I think that's also part of the game too. You kind of just have to. I don't know. I hear a lot of guys talking about how crazy over-the-counter Colorado is, and obviously they got rid of their archery hunting. But I know a lot of guys too, like a lot of guys on podcasts and listen to things. It's like, well, are you hunting right outside of Denver? Are you, are you trying to just be a little bit more thoughtful? Because like I'm outside of Pittsburgh, like I don't whitetail deer hunt in the first piece of public land outside the city. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I still I agree. I mean, you can look at draw trends, point creep. I mean, it's all definitely real. But as far as like opportunities, like we said, still, I think we're still in a good time.
Oh, 100%. You're 100% right. In Idaho, it's the same thing. It's if you're around Boise, or if you're around Pocatello, if you're any of the big cities, if you leave right outside the city, you're going to see people everywhere, especially if you're deer hunting on the rifle season. You're just going to truck after truck after truck. You hike in, you run into people here and there for sure, but you put in a little bit of the effort and you'll start getting away from people, and it's definitely still doable, but I think the residents definitely have the advantage there. As a non-resident, you're looking at Google Earth or whatever, and you're like, this canyon looks cool, and you get in there, and so does every other asshole. He looks like that. Look at this canyon, and go, that canyon looks cool. And the residents have the advantage of scouting it, looking at it, and then year after year after year, kind of being able to have the time to pick it out, and weekend after weekend. Some residents definitely have the tag advantage and everything else as well, but Idaho's made some pretty good moves non-resident wise. So a couple years ago, like you as a non-resident could buy, they were selling, I can't remember, it was like 8,000 elk tags or something like that for the entire state. But they didn't say they didn't force spreading them out across the state for the non-residents. Every non-resident in theory could have bought a non-resident elk tag for one unit, and all 8,000 people could have showed up in the same unit.
Right.
A couple of years ago, they spread them all out, so you have to have it's a quota now, and I know the non-residents are stoked, but they only sell like 200 for this unit, 150 for this unit, so it spread everybody out. And I've seen a pretty big benefit from that. The trailheads are a little bit quieter from non-residents and stuff like that. So I think states are making moves, some good, some bad. It just depends on what your side of it is. So I want to see opportunity. A couple things that like I'm pretty opinionated on is I hate the tag increase of the prices. I know a lot of residents are like, yeah, jack up the prices because it, tears people down. I don't want hunting to become a rich man's sport. I don't want it to be someone that only if you have money, they can go. Like it sucks I'd like to hunt a Dall sheep one day. Do I have 30, 40 grand to go hunt a Dall sheep? That's just the tag in the guide. Oh, I'm not talking about everything else. And it trickles down to mule deer and elk and everything else. So I hate to see all that increase in price because it just sucks. Because luckily I'm in my mid 30s. I've made some money already, but man, if I was 20 years old right now trying to buy a $1,000 elk tag or something like that. Or I think Utah's about to go to a $2,000 elk tag. Like they have general tags, but are you gonna spend $2,000 to go do a general elk hunt in Utah? Not a lot of people can swing that.
I
So
know,
sucks to see that shit.
yeah, I know, and especially there where how many points is that going to take and everything, and
Yeah.
that does bother me a lot because looking even beyond that, I would understand. So Utah is one of the only states I haven't bought points yet, but the archery deer tags do interest me. But as of right now,
Dude,
the
they're about to go to
general.
$1,000
Yeah, I know.
or
Well,
eight
that's the
hundred
thing.
bucks or
It would
something
be.
for a
I was
deer
like looking,
tag.
and it's like a point or two, and I was like, maybe I get a point, maybe that could be an option for me next year. But it's like, well, that just went up from. Well, I guess it was like 5-6 years ago. It was only like 200. They
Mhm.
doubled it then to 4, and now
Yep.
they're doubling it to 8. And then it's like you
Yep.
see the general elk go to like pushing $2,000, and then the limited entry elk pushing like 3.
Yeah.
And dude, I get nervous in the fact of like how many people like on our side, like the hunting side, the people that want to support RMEF and BHA and all these things are just gonna be like, you know what? Piss on all this. Like, this is ridiculous. And like, and
I think
then they
that's what
don't want to
sheep hunters
donate, they
are.
don't want to do
Yeah.
their thing. And
I think that's what sheep hunters are running into, man. Like sheep need a lot of help. We have a pretty big problem in southwest Idaho for the Californias. The California sheep herd are getting hammered by mountain lions, and they need, the Idaho Wild Sheep Foundation's amazing. I worked with a couple of those guys, luckily enough to do that stuff, and I've got to kind of get the inside scoop. But the California sheep are hurting. But at the same time, you look at draw odds for California sheep in Idaho for a resident, it's like less than 1%, and it's completely random. So it's hard to convince somebody to spend money in that direction when they're like, I will never get to hunt this. And that's the whole conservation model for hunting is I get to hunt them. So I'm going to put money into it. And you start $3,000, 3 grand for an elk tag. People are going to be like, I'm never going to be able to get a hunt an elk. One, it's going to take me 20 years to draw. And two, it's going to cost me it's going to cost me $5,000 to buy a damn tag. Like
right.
people are going to get a little demotivated from it. So you're 100% right.
Yeah,
It's going to be
because
rough.
you have that situation, but then when I look at the situation, like, I mean, tags are getting harder, but say like, the Colorado elk, it's $800 for a non-resident. I still think that over-the-counter archery tag for at least a few years, as long as you put in for the draw, probably get your tag. And like the elk herd's good. Like there's still opportunities if you can like, I think going back to returning areas I'm finding is very key, but and all these
Yeah.
things. And it's like, as long as like, I'm okay to do that right now, like I'm good. Like that, I mean, $800 is not something to like bat an eye about, but um, that's still something. But like, I'm good. Like, I'll support that. Like, I'm all like I support RMEF in these things, but it's like when you just deliberately slap in the face like that Utah elk tag, and like I think Wyoming set the precedence maybe for that super tag, but that's not like your only option. Like you can
Yeah.
like that wasn't like the going rate, but maybe that's what planted the seed in Utah. Like I don't know, felt like more of just a little bit of a slap in the face, and I
Kind of
don't
seemed like
like it.
because Idaho, I think, is still one of the cheapest states to hunt, and they know they increased their prices a few years ago because we were definitely like the idea of like we're the Walmart of the Western states because how
Yeah.
cheap our tags were. We bumped our prices, then every state around us bumped their prices. So we're still the cheapest, I think. I haven't looked in a while, but for non-residents, I'm still pretty sure we're pretty damn cheap. So
Forget what it is. I have an elk
I think it's
tag
like six
this
hundred
year
bucks for
there.
an elk tag for
I,
Idaho or something like that.
6 or 7, yeah, which is like
Yeah,
cheap now. But hey,
yeah.
elk herd's
Compared to
good.
the other states.
Got my tag opportunity. I'm all for it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, digress. I can't remember what we were talking about before, but I guess just a little bit of background
Oh yeah.
of
Yeah.
where you're from and everything. So we're in Idaho, had a good start and everything, and then I thought you were in the military.
Mhm.
I see you. I mean, you got a lot of good content on archery and marksmanship. I would say I'm definitely more of like I love tuning, building arrows. I'll nerd out on that stuff. My dad's more of like the gun guy, the reloading, and like I try to make sure I'm there for all that and learn from him. But like it doesn't like that's not quite my thing. But you have a really good content on both. Like, did that whole marksmanship and art, and maybe even the archery passion too, just the whole weapon thing, did that stem a lot from the military?
I mean, I grew up with guns, but I was a sniper in the Marine Corps, so it kind of
Okay.
I got that was where the long range and the marksmanship. That's where all my knowledge really comes from. And my dad's a really good shot, but it wasn't like a marksman or anything like that. He just grew up shooting at running deer and pushing deer.
Yeah.
So he could. I don't think I could shoot a running deer, but he can. But that's kind of where my marksmanship came from is all that stuff. So I was yeah, I got lucky with that as well. And then archery is just a different of the same beast, just a different stem. But I like archery a little bit more than long range shooting. I don't push the super limits of like, a grand or anything like that for rifles, but I stay proficient. My dad's a reloader as well, but the way, in my opinion, reloading is a lot less worth it than it used to be because I can get a factory box of ammo and a factory gun anymore to shoot a sub MOA. And if you're shooting deer out at 500 yards and you're shooting a 4-inch group at 500 yards, I don't really want to spend hours and hours trying to reload and everything else to get it down to a 3-inch group. Like I don't care that much. So
I get it, and I see that, and I always think that I'm like, what are you doing? But then at the same time, well, I probably nerd out on tuning a lot more than I need to too sometimes. So it's
yeah,
like I kind of get how it's just like it might just be the guy's brain, but I'll never say like you have to like
no,
do all that. Like if I'm
I've,
doing
I've
it, I'm just like
swung
it's just because like it's my engineer brain. That's all.
and pretty much everything I've ever done, I swing to an extreme and then I kind of swing back to middle. Like, so for
Yeah.
like, I went ultra lightweight on everything for a while, got my pack super, and then like stuff started breaking and then it didn't hold up in the wind or something like that. So like, I was like, well, the heavier stuff kind of, so I came back to like this mid range of super lightweight. And then archery was the same way, super into tuning, trying to line up the fletchings with the broadheads and everything else. And I've kind of like come back like, it really does not make that much of a difference. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of, I get, I
I
get, I get that.
I share that. Yeah, I share that same personality type. I like to like, oh shit, this is exciting. This works. Let me take this to the absolute mega extreme. And then, like with anything, you find a point of like diminishing returns. But you
Yeah.
learn a lot doing stuff like that, which is always
Yes, that's
good.
exactly what I was about to say. I still think you learn a lot and you understand what matters. Like I had a question the other day, someone trying to like find the rotation of the arrow and see if they should reverse fletch their arrows to, and I'm like, no.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
unless you're like frickin' Bodie Turner or something like that, who's just like the best of the best and trying to get that like 30x. Like
yeah.
I'll tell you, if I reversed fletched my arrows, I wouldn't notice the difference. I would
Hmm.
have no idea. I'm not that good of a shot.
Probably what he wanted to see, strip everything off and clock it, see which way he was spinning, and then fletch the other way. I'm
Yeah.
laughing because I literally did this like last year, and now
I
I'm
done
like,
it too.
and I only do like 1 degree offset, so I'm like, this probably did nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it
yeah,
definitely was. I found that the arrows will go different directions. So like it's like I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna fletch half my arrows right and half my arrows left. That'll probably mess it up way worse than
yeah. I'll
you
just
know.
stick with one and
Yeah.
go.
So yeah.
No, that's cool. I wanted to ask you too. Do you think that time in the military, now out back country hunting, out of the military, do you find that to be a good? I feel like I see this with a lot of guys, and the guy I'm linking up to spring bear hunt with, they're also sounds like the other guys in camp are ex-military. We were bullshitting about it the one day. He says that like it's a good outlet for a lot of guys. Do you find that like coming out of the military, backcountry hunting?
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. I like the challenge. I like doing hard things backcountry hunting. Like you can get it done out of the truck, and a lot of people do. They day hunt out of the truck, but I like the hardness of it. I guess is I don't know. I just like being back there. I don't really know how else to say, but I just like the challenge. And it's definitely for the military too. The military was a challenge. It was hard. I enjoyed it. Um, just don't want to become a couch potato and just do easy shit. I want to do hard shit. It's way more fulfilling. It's way more. I just enjoy it a lot more.
Mm. I was not in the military. I respect the hell out of those guys. I try to learn from those guys, whether it's like I meet them in person or even on podcasts and things like that. And then I think it carries over because the military, especially it sounds like what you did, amount of attention to detail you got to have with things and be just such squared away and dialed in the whole process of like putting a plan together, executing a plan, and then but still like having to do shit on the fly because something always gets jacked up. I could see the huge like correlation. And then the guy I was talking to says like he likes taking a lot of guys out because I think he trains some guys. out near the Boise area, and it does give him that like a little bit of like, oh, I got it, like another mission, like I got a pursuit. So would you
I don't
agree?
know.
A
I
lot
don't
of
know if I don't know if that like lines up with me too much more. It's I just like the I don't know. I think I liked it before. So even before the military, I liked backpacking. I liked doing that stuff before anyways. I think the biggest benefit I got from the military was like I'm still not much of a planner. Like I'll show up and it's kind of a joke for me anymore. It's like I'll figure it out. Like I go like I got food, I got water, I got my gun, I got my rangefinder. Everything else I'll figure out. Like whatever. And that's kind of more of my thing. I've gone almost the opposite direction because you're right. In the military, it was like planning. Every piece of gear had to be taped up. Everything was very perfect, very attention to detail. And now it's like almost I got out and I just like dumped all that and was like, I'll figure it out.
well,
So
that works too. Well, that's gotta be too. Like you just built the confidence of like probably had a lot of situations that you just had to figure it out anyway.
yeah,
So you'll know you'll do it again.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely what I like. Just figuring it out. I don't know. I think some people plan just way too much. And sometimes I forget my rain jacket and I get rained on.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It happens. I'll figure it out.
Well, it's the same thing with like people, like how we already talked. Like people get so caught up in the weeds on like
Mhm.
tuning or something, and it's like you're taken away from like the thing. Like do the thing. Like
Yes. That's
yeah,
yeah,
getting caught up in the weeds.
100%.
Yeah, very cool. So I did want to get into like your training too, because you train really hard. I try to, and I think I like, and I mentioned this before we hit record. Like like there's a lot with training to hunting, and it's so good. Like building communities with that, it's promoting healthy lifestyle. Are there guys that probably do way more than they need to just to get in elk hunt? Like yeah, but I see it as like again promoting a healthy lifestyle and promoting hunting culture in a positive way as well, because we still have this stigma of like some people
The
like
the
anti-hunter,
Bubba
like
Hunter.
this is yeah, I mean like this is like our world, so that we see what we see on social media and stuff, and like but you still talk to people that don't like I meet like people like through running back here, like back east and stuff, and hunting gets like brought up, like we connect and they see my social media and stuff, and they're like what, like how do you do, like what are you doing, like you go and hunt like in the mountains, and their thing was always just like family would go drive around in their trucks and drink beer. Like I don't know, like yeah, like Elmer Fudd kind of deal.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I just wanted to get into that too, and then I'm also just curious for myself what have maybe been some things that have worked for you as far as training. I know you're big into the CrossFit stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's probably kind of totally related to just that I'll figure it out type shit.
Yeah.
So my goal this year, a few years ago, my goal was I like running, just like running, but I also like lifting weight. I don't want to be a weak, scrawny runner. Hopefully, it doesn't offend anybody out there, but I don't want to be an ultra runner. I don't want to look like an ultra runner.
Skinny
So a
fat.
couple years ago, I ran a 50 miler, and my goal was to be able to still squat double my body weight right before I ran that 50 miler.
Okay.
So at the time I was like 175 pounds, and so I back squatted 350, and I think I ended up doing like 360 for two or something like that right before the run. And then a couple weeks later, I ran the run and finished it. And so this year, I've kind of literally doubled down. This time it's been a few years now since I've done it. Running the 100 miler with the goal of keeping myself in the 1,000 pound club. With a little bit more specific details of being able to back squat 350, bench 300, and deadlift over 4. So keep myself well into the 1,000 pound club, and then go run 100 miles. So it's been the training on that has been um, a lot because I've got to run a lot and I've got to continue to lift heavy because I'm sure like you run a lot and your strength goes quick. So I've got to keep a little bit of size on me, but I can't get too heavy because then running sucks. And I'm actually a little on the heavy side right now. So I'm pushing like about 180 right now, and I can start to feel it in my running. I want to be in that like 175 range. That's where I feel like my happy medium of strength and everything else. And I think CrossFit is really, I've been doing CrossFit for a really long time now, probably 13 years now. And I think that's probably one of the biggest benefits because it is so versatile. It keeps me strong, but it also pushes your cardio still. So I think CrossFit's the way to go. And I want to caveat that with like, the OG old school CrossFit. Like some of this new stuff is a little weird, but back in the day, the idea of CrossFit was like play all the sports, do all the things, you know, swim, run, hike, play tennis, Olympic lift, gymnastics, do everything. And CrossFit's kind of changed, their culture's kind of changed a little bit, but back in the day when I started, it was like grunge garage gyms and, rings and figure shit out. And I don't know, back to that figure it out type mentality. And that's the kind of the CrossFit I subscribe to is the play all the sports. I like to swim, I like to run, hike, gymnastics, Olympic lift. Even I like bro sesh on occasion too, where I just go hit some curls. You know what I mean? I still got to look good in a t-shirt,
100%. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And I got a buddy I'm running with, my buddy Kel. He's the one that invited me on the 100 miler. He's known I wanted to do it for a while. And dude, that guy is running like twice a day. Like he's putting on miles. And I'm running like, I don't know, 20 miles every week or something like that. He's putting in 20 miles a day.
Yeah.
I hope I'm all right. I hope I'm going to do okay.
What is the I mean, no, dude. Well, you have that. I'm gonna figure it out. Freaking do it. Never quit
Yeah,
anyway. So that's
I'm not
gonna
going to
take you a
quit. I
lot
know that.
further than yeah, hell, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But what's the 100 miler?
It's the Copper Creek in Montana. It's actually their first official year. They ran like the test run. I think they call it like a fat ass race or something like that. I guess I learned.
Okay.
But it's like it's like a test run. So a bunch of people that kind of do it, they kind of go and half-ass their course and just kind of run the course and do a little test run. This year is their first like legit race, like legit
Oh,
run.
okay, cool.
So
Very cool.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Uh
not that I'll know any different. I'm just trying to cover 100 miles.
right. Head
Yeah,
down, left foot, right foot.
yeah,
No, I've definitely found that with the strength and running thing. And because the last few years I've been getting more into the ultras and marathons, but all through high school, college, I love the. I keep saying like, yeah, I'm gonna try some other things. I would really like to try CrossFit, and I feel like that's a good crowd too. But I just keep going back to the hypertrophy, a lot of bro sesh. I really try to like cater my leg days a little bit more, like with some weighted lunges and step ups and things like that, which might help me um, in the mountains and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I can't not bench on Mondays. I just can't. It's just like, it kills me. But I do notice that. So it's like crazy. Even if like, I'm staying super disciplined and, I'm on a shit ton of pre-workout and everything. When I start getting into those high mileage running weeks, it, it does give. Like it does. Like you're asking way too much of your body. And it's like, I could probably like this winter I hit 225 on the bench for 9 reps. But like now that I'm doing like 60-mile weeks running, even though like not much has changed, I've lost just a couple pounds. It's just not there. Like it's just not
yeah.
there. So there's definitely a point. But what's been fun though is like you can find a good balance, which I think that's like this whole big hybrid athlete thing. Like people are finding that you can actually maybe not build strength quite as fast versus if you like barely did any cardio, like doing like consistently running decently good enough to maybe get into like the half marathon world can still actually find what like you can still actually build strength. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
kind of what I saw. It's when you start to take one to the extreme, there's no way.
Something goes out the window. You're 100% right. That hybrid athlete is definitely what is kind of what I've been doing for years and years. But that's kind of, it goes back to like what CrossFit's old saying used to be like outrun a lifter and outlift a runner. It'd be that middle ground. And that's kind of what I like to do. But you're 100%, or that hybrid athlete, I guess, is the new way of saying it. Is the new fad on YouTube or whatever the hell people are calling it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I 100% agree with that. I want to be able to run long distance. That's where I think CrossFit really comes into play because you're lifting, but you're also pushing that cardio. And I think that's where it helps hunting too, because every day is leg day in the gym and every day is cardio day in the gym when it comes to CrossFit and box jumps and burpees and everything else. Sorry, that's my dog's tail. Um, yeah, so just staying in cardio shape. I do bicep curls, but if you do nothing but bicep curls, it's not going to help you in the mountain much. Better than nothing. I'll tell you that. If you're in the gym and you're working out, it's better than nothing. So I'm not going to tell
Yes.
anybody they're doing anything wrong. I just think
No.
in my running and CrossFit and swimming and everything else, the lungs are the most important things when it comes to the mountains. So
Yeah, and I'm so hesitant to like I've gotten some people reach out for advice. I am like a certified personal trainer too. Not that I'm the biggest or fastest or anything, but some people just like looking to get started and they just can't. And I'm like, don't like the best training plan you can do is the one you like and you can stick to. And
100%.
that's going to then maybe even lead to other things. So it's like if your thing is CrossFit or if your thing is hypertrophy style weight training, if your thing is like you just like to get on that bike a couple of days a week, for God's sakes, like just do that and don't freaking listen to anybody else and like start there. You can build off that if you want to, because obviously maybe some other things there's benefits in other ways, but like, yeah, if you're forcing yourself to do some shitty type of workout because influencer so and so said you should, like, yeah, you're probably not going to stick with it. And like,
Yeah.
there's that expression of like a mediocre plan that's stuck to is always going to be a great plan that is never followed through. And that's so true with
100%.
fitness. Yeah.
Yeah. Just consistency. That's all it comes down to. Just keep doing something.
I would like to, I know, I got to find a good CrossFit place here. So what does a typical week look like with training just right now too? I am curious. I know you are just like a screw it kind of guy.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I know it's
just getting into like what is that kind of workout? Like you're getting into training for between CrossFit and the swimming and a little bit of running.
I try to do 2 a day every day.
Stairmaster.
I try to do 2 a day every day, and a lot of times it starts in the morning with either run or stairmaster. Um, I think it's probably one of the more odd things that I don't see a lot of people do, but I believe in that stairmaster so much.
Yeah.
Like I think that thing is a huge help. It's really easy for me to jump on that thing and turn my brain off for 40 minutes to an hour and just walk up 10. It's just a slow burn the entire time. Your legs start burning immediately and then the entire time, but it's never so bad where you're just like, I can't go anymore. So you
You
can
put
push
some
it pretty
weight on
hard and
too?
get your I've done that a couple times. Yeah, that's painful. That's
Yeah.
I got a buddy who's got like a 40-pound vest. He's been giving me shit because I only have a 20-pound vest. But that's painful. You get pretty sweaty. But I think
Yeah,
Stairmaster's a
killer.
pretty big deal. But I rotate Stairmaster and running back and forth quite a bit. And I think so. My theory with the 50 miler was I just need time on my feet because it's like I've run the marathons. That was the other thing I wanted to say is I think half marathon is the perfect distance. I think that is the perfect running distance. It's not too
Yeah.
long. It's not too short. You can push the intensity a little bit, but it's not so far where it takes an entire. But anyways, but for an ultra
You can kind of
marathon,
get it done. I know what you mean. You can kind of get it done.
yeah,
You don't have to like play mind games right when you maybe like are getting in like a low like this sucks. Maybe you only got like a few more miles left.
yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
you can dig into the brain and go. Like
Yep.
it's funny because for like the ultra, you walk, you hike, you run. The intensity is way down. Like you're looking at like 20-minute miles, for probably an average person to do a long race like that. Like, and with a half marathon, like I saw you run like 6.5-minute miles or whatever. Like that's freaking nuts, man.
I woke
But
up just pretty motivated. I don't know.
yeah, some
I'm
days are
really,
good, man.
but but it's all depends on what your goals are. And like I've
Yeah,
put in, I didn't grow up running at all 4 years, and I don't know. I'm just sticking with it because I guess I got something going here. But like my goal is this 250 marathon because Boston. I was just looking again today, dude. It's so ridiculous. Like 5 years ago, I could have qualified for Boston like 20 minutes slower than like what I'm trying to get now. So it's like,
really.
yeah, dude, it's stupid. And like I'm freaking going. Like I don't care. So I'm training like a madman, but it's all depends on what your goals are. And like I've
Yeah,
had a lot more time on feet than like some people just getting started. So I'm again hesitant to like it's like everybody started from zero. So like the
Mhm.
important thing is just starting and finding something that you can stick to. But anyway, that's a whole different rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah,
The ultras though, like, yeah, you at least have well, it depends what your goals are there too. With as far as time.
yeah.
But a lot of people are going in just wanting to finish, and you at least have the ability to be like, I just need to slow it down, or I just need to hike this uphill. Versus a
Mhm.
half marathon or marathon, you're just trying to redline. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You got a
but
time in mind for the 100 miler. I've got a time in my brain for the 100 miler, but I don't know if it's realistic or not because it's my first one. I got to hope, but um, all in all though, it's definitely more of a I just want to finish. And I think that's what
Yeah.
most people do with 100. There's the competitive people, but most people just want to finish 100 miles. And so right out the gate, if the start line starts uphill, I'm walking, like I'm running
As
uphill.
you should. Yeah.
Like I'm gonna start walking and be like, I got a long ways to go. I'm
Yep.
petrified to hit like mile 3 on that and go, I have 97 minutes to go.
Bro, oh man, dude, it's I couldn't eat any more food. I did 70 miler last year. I couldn't eat any more food past mile 25. Just couldn't do it. And I love food. Like I'm telling you, it was just stomach was just not working. I look at like a Reese cup, which I have no discipline when it comes to that stuff, but normally I'd be all over it, but I look at it and be like, I can't do it. So I ran like the last, and then I was like, that's what I was like, I got 45 more miles left. And it was pretty much just on gels and
Yeah.
tailwind because that's all I could get down. But it's, that's definitely part of it too. And I haven't done, I have 100 in August coming up, but these are just like different animals. It's like almost like and I'm hesitant too to put a goal time as well because it's more of a war of attrition of anything. And it's so corny, but it's so, like it is mental, dude. And
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
got that box checked, so I'm not worried. Like
Yeah,
you're,
I hope so.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll find out in June. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a yeah. I remember on my 50 miler. I remember I think I was about 30 miles in, and they offered me bacon and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I remember going, I'm good. And then I remember that switch, and I was like, that's a bad sign. I probably need to eat. Like if I'm
yeah,
turning down bacon and peanut butter jellies, I need to eat.
yeah.
So I scarfed a shit ton of food down. But
Good,
I didn't have
good.
anything, man. I didn't. Luckily, I didn't have any of that kind of stuff. I just remember thinking that I wasn't hungry, which is probably a bad sign. But like stomach issues or anything like that, people talk about. I didn't have any of that issues. So
That's good.
I don't know. It could happen this time. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Body does weird things.
You kind of find maybe a long race like that. I can't help but always try to look at like deep meaning on things, true or not. But I find them so similar to like a 10-day backcountry hunt, like a long race like that, because it's just constant highs and lows, and like being patient with like tired, sore, hungry, just like dealing with stress. Have you ever like thought that?
It's a mental game for me. Like I said, I like to do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you've ever been, people listen, if you've ever been in the backcountry and it's day 4 and it's raining and you're stuck in your tent or you're soaked and you're cold or something like that, you want to quit. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't want to quit hunts. It's stupid. Don't see a deer for 2 days and it's raining and now you can't see shit. And you're like, fuck this. I'm just going to go find somewhere else. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's had those thoughts, of course, but it's not. I mean, I've killed on the last day. I've killed in the last hour. Like you gotta stick it out. And I think that's kind of what comes down to doing hard things, kind of doing CrossFit. Like just like crushing that inner bitch, when your brain says quit and you got to turn it off, you got to turn around and turn it off. Like you got to tell them to shut up and just keep going. And so I think that's what a lot of this stuff is for me, CrossFit and my competitive nature and everything else. It's just, I don't know if I look too much of a deep meaning. It's more of, I don't want to get soft because I really like doing. I will never forget the feeling of finishing that 50 miler because I'd wanted to do an ultra for a really long time. I'd done every distance up to a marathon, ever from 5K to a marathon. And I'd want to do a marathon for a really long time. An ultra marathon for a really long time. And I finally did it. And I remember crossing the finish line, doing the 50 miler because I didn't know if I could finish it or not. I didn't know. Longest distance I ever ran before that was a flat course of 26 miles, And then so it was a Scout Mountain Ultra. I think it had like 14,000 feet of vertical over the 50 miles. It was steep.
That's a shit ton for 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
So
shit
the
ton for
100 I
anything.
think the 100 I'm running is only like 16,000 or something like that. It's like almost the same for
So
twice the
that's
distance.
stupid. And yeah,
So
caveat, people like to look at ultras like how fast you do your 50 miler, how fast you do your 100 miler.
they're different beasts.
It's the freaking climbing. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like every
People
course is
running
going to be
these
different.
flat 100 milers in 17 hours are talking crap on the people that run the hundreds in the mountains. And it's like, no.
30, 40 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally
Yeah.
different beast.
Mm-hmm. But go
But
ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah, no, you're good. But crossing that finish line of the 50 miler, dude, like the feeling of that completion, I I'll never forget, man. I crossed that and the race director was right there. And I just big old grin on my face, and I gave him a big old stupid, smelly, sweaty hug, and I think he was kind of taken aback. I didn't know you were. I don't know. I don't know. I was just stoked, man. I was stoked to finish, and I just chase that feeling, like being successful on a backcountry hunt, a new state you've never been in, all that stuff. I just chase the challenge and try to conquer it. I don't know. It seems really weird and saying it out loud, but I just like to do hard shit and I like to not lose. So
Dude, I get it. I relate 100%. I love that mindset. I think that mindset can take people a lot further than them trying to always upgrade their bow every year or getting the new pair or whatever. And
yeah,
I think a lot of that success comes down to people that just don't like to lose and are competitive. And they just know that doing these hard things is like dealing with the stress over a period of time. And there's going to be lows, but every time like there's lows, like guaranteed doubt crept in that 50 milers on that
oh
50
yeah,
miler at some point, but then it creeps out
100%.
and things get better. Day 4, you're not seeing any deer, rain comes in, you want to quit, but day 5 clears up, you see a couple good bucks in a basin. So it's like there's always like keep giving yourself pushing through those hard things, giving yourself evidence that like as long as you're doing that, things are temporary. Highs, lows, everything. So it's like I had Brian Barney on, and that was his thing. He just keeps a level head constantly, like, and he's very competitive, works extremely hard, but he doesn't get too low and he doesn't get too high because he just knows like just has to go. I love the expression, like the stoicism expression is like the only way out is through. Period. So
Yeah, I agree
yeah,
100%. It's funny. I have this like curse almost. I call it the day 8 curse. I've killed a lot of animals on day 8 of
yeah,
9 or
that's a
10. Really, it
long
sucks,
freaking
dude.
time, dude. Like
It
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
I don't know. Like this last year was the first year I ever killed something on the first day that I went out hunting. I killed a deer on the first day, and I remember going like, "What the hell do I do now?" Like
I
this
know.
never happens to me,
You
man.
almost want to be like, oh, I wish there was a little bit more suck. But
Yeah,
in those times, I like to say, like, well, you've put in the cash deposits of that suck 10
that was the
times
last.
over the
That was the
years.
very last hunt of the year for me, so I was a little relieved. I was starting to get a little tired. I've been hunting since August, like early August, and that was like late November, and I was like kind of tired. I'm gonna go home now.
Like Forrest Gump.
So yeah,
Go home.
yeah,
Yeah. I laughed too with the race directors because it's the cringiest thing watching it on video now. But like my parents were there and they videoed me. I had the same thing, dude. I yelled coming through the finish line because I did better than I thought and everything, and never believed I could run that far and like all this shit. And I let out like a, yeah, like when I crossed through, but like people were like, "Is that kid okay?" And then the race directors were like trying to give me the trophy, but I was just so like oh
yeah.
my god. And then like watching on a video, it's the cringiest thing ever. But those guys were cool. Like they were so like, dude, like you
I
did
think
it.
they get
Like
it, man.
they do get it. I think they do. That's why they do what they do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And to get into, I did want to pick your brain on one of your hunts. You mentioned that late season hunt, but really that I wanted to get into the story here because we got a little bit of time. Was that Wyoming Bowl? Because I
Mhm.
remember you posted that and like keeping up with the story, and you were solo, and or I think you said you packed it out solo, and that was your biggest bull.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you want to walk through.
Yeah.
I just love to hear that overcoming story because
Yeah.
that's
So last year,
those are the best kind.
Drew Wyoming last year is the first time. I've never hunted Wyoming before. Drew Wyoming last year. And if you don't know, Wyoming, you can hunt archery and then you can hunt rifle. It's general tag is what I drew. So the general tag is basically any of the general units you can start with archery, and whatever open general unit you can hunt across the state, archery, rifle, whatever. And Wyoming's pretty wild. They've got some like September 20th rifle tags that open up in some units. It's a wild state when it comes to elk hunting. It's a really good state, but it does take 5 point to draw a general tag that a resident can get every single year. So you're out there with it might be a draw tag for a non-resident, but for residents, it's tags they get every single year. So
Yeah.
it's not like it wasn't like a fancy tag or nothing like that, but hunted all of archery season, had a couple close encounters, a lot of raghorns, passing a lot of raghorns, found a couple good bulls, just couldn't get them done with a bow. And then rifle season came in. I had a buddy Towson. He kind of come and helped us out for a little bit for rifle season and kind of showed us around, showed us some spots, and helped us out in a different unit. And he was there. And then he had to bounce and go back to work, and I had a couple more days to go. And the day after he left, I was there was a pretty big 5 point that I found, and he was like probably like close to a 300-inch 5 point. He was a big bull, and found him, and then I watched him. I watched him for a couple days where he just wasn't putting in place to where I could really. It was a really big canyon, around and just the ridges weren't very conducive for rifles. So I kept watching him, trying. He stepped out, and then that 6 point that I ended up killing stepped out behind him one night, and I was like, holy shit, he's a big boy. I ended up going 320. That night, ran down the mountain, tried to get as close as I could. The closest I could get was like 1,050 yards or something like that, and the sun was going down. So I was like, walked away and said, hopefully I'll see you in the morning. Hiked out of there. Sorry, I think my headphone. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, one of my headphones just died. But
Okay. No, you're good.
anyways, so went back in the morning. Was lucky enough to relocate him the next morning, and then they put himself into. They both bedded down in some really dark timber. Went over there, got across from him, and it was only like 350 yards from him in the dark timber. And then I spent all day sitting there. And to be granted, I'm probably like on day like 20 of hunting elk in Wyoming at this point this year. And I was still working, so I'm going back and forth, going back to work, going back to Wyoming, back to work, back to Wyoming. So, but anyways, I'm sitting across from this bull. He's somewhere about 350 yards, somewhere in the trees, and I sat there for like 6 hours picking apart the trees and never couldn't find him, just couldn't find him. And 5 o'clock, he finally gets up, and I start seeing him move through the trees. But the trees were so thick that I didn't want to shoot the wrong bull, because I did that the year before. That's a whole other story. I ended up shooting the wrong bull because he was going through the trees. So I was ultra paranoid about that. And so I'm watching this bull. I'm like, yeah, it's him. He'd go behind something. And I knew there was another bull in there. And I'd see him come out the other side, but I could only see body and I could only see antlers. And it was just like this dance this entire time. And I played this dance with him for like an hour. And I could just never got a shot. Finally, I'm looking through the trees. I lose him. I can't find him. And then all of a sudden I hear a twig snap. And I look up and he is out the top of the trees and 100 yards going away from me. And I go into full panic mode. I've got this whole hunt on film, and I got this bull going away from me, and not much time left for him until he, is gone. I go into full panic mode, and I don't even turn on cameras. I don't turn nothing. I get a range on him, and he turns quartering away, and I send one and freaking anchor him.
How far?
I think it ended up being about 450.
Okay.
It's something funny I've noticed that I've switched those SIG rangefinders, and it has the dope in the rangefinder. A lot of the times I don't actually look at the range, and I know what's too far, but I range, I see the dope, and I dial, and
Yeah.
and then afterwards I go, oh, that was 450 yards.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because you got what you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know. I don't want people to think that I'm like sending it at 900 yards. Obviously, I'm not. So, but anyways, yeah, I saw the dope, and I think it ended up being about 450 yards or something like that is all. But he was kind of cresting over through some bushes, and if he made it another 20 yards, I never would have seen him again, or at least that night. But shot him right at dusk and got over there. He was done, and then I realized that I had a ridiculously long pack out, and I was all by myself. From the time I pulled the trigger to the last load to the side by side was 27 miles in about 19 hours, and I slept for about 4 hours of that. So it took me 3 loads. It was it was a lot.
Yeah.
So
there's another ultra marathon right there.
Yeah, that's why I do it, man. Like I was in legit pain at the end of that. It sucked, but I do what I do. I've been in that situation a handful of times where I know people will be like, "I'll never kill a bull in here." I normally pull the trigger and realize where I'm at and go, "Shit."
Yeah.
So,
well, that is epic, dude. And then real quick, I mean, I know you touched on it, but you spent with Wyoming, it's the general tag. You can hunt through in the archery season and the rifle season. You said you spent like 20 days in total. How many of that was the archery season? How many was the rifle season? Roundabout.
I bet you I spent probably at least 12 days in the archery season. I was probably on 8 or something the rifle season or something like that. Yeah.
Were you getting
maybe
back into the same
5 or 6
areas
days,
ish?
maybe?
Okay.
No, I switched spots for the rifle tag. Where we were archery hunting, we found out, luckily, like our buddy Towson, he told us where we were archery hunting. It was a good archery spot because it's kind of one of those spots that it's close to it's semi close to a main town. And he says people get in there, and he says it's like a World War II in there of just orange, and people are pushing bulls, and he says it gets absolutely crazy. So
Okay.
he was really nice enough to show us a couple little out of the way spots that kind of don't see as much pressure. So big thanks to Towson on that one, because he definitely helped out. Otherwise, I would have went right back and then found the 10 million people. I guess it's a really popular spot where we were archery hunting for rifle hunters. So
Okay. So whole new
he got
area.
yeah.
When.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool.
I went to a couple different spots once archery season was over. I kind of bounced around to a couple different spots and tried some different areas. That is kind of the nice thing about Wyoming is like I checking different units, different areas. You have a lot of room to roam. So it depends on what you want to do, rifle archery, whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
So
And it'd be cool too if you're a non-resident, like from like me coming from back east or down south, and I'm sitting on I think 5 elk points. Like, so Wyoming general, it's on my. I try to take things, just focus on what I got going on this year, but in the background, like make sure I'm conscious of my next few years. Looks like Wyoming is on my docket next year with the general elk tag, and that's the thing. Like, isn't that crazy? Like 5-6 years general elk in Wyoming, when like 5-6 years ago, like 1 point maybe. Like I
yeah,
knew a guy. He was like, "Oh yeah, what we would do is like every other year somebody would get the bull tag, and then whoever didn't get it would get like a cow tag, and they'd go every year." And then now
yeah.
it's like it's crazy.
I
But
just realized that with Nevada. I mean, I drew my first year hunting Nevada. I drew with 2 points, and I realized I think I only needed one. Like I was like, oh shit, I kind of burned a point. Like I burned too many points. I'd used 2 points. And this year, I think I'm going in Nevada with 5 or 6 points in Nevada this year, and I have like 30% draw odds. I'm like, gee,
wow, for an elk
okay.
tag.
No, for deer. No, no, no.
Okay,
Elk
deer.
tags in
Yeah,
Nevada are like
I was gonna say. Yeah,
30
no,
points, man.
I know that's crazy. That's
But
absolutely.
no, deer
Yeah.
tags and archery deer tags in Nevada are even, they used to be almost every year. I hunted
Yeah.
Nevada for a little while every other year. And now it's been 5 or 6 years since I've hunted it.
I started building points Nevada deer last couple years, and then
It's one of the cheap states still to start building points, but point
yeah,
creep is starting to get pretty fierce.
yeah, and that's just a hunt that would excite me too. Just up there for mule deer.
Yeah, that
But
is cool.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. Things are the way they are. Still, my advice is like, you can hate the game, but like, you got to buy the points. I don't know what to tell you.
You want to
Like,
hunt?
yeah, you got
Yeah.
to do it. But oh no. Well, anyway, back to Wyoming real quick. My thought was like, it'd be really cool for a guy from back east or down south or whatever, and like you're going and like you just have like your 2 weeks or whatever. You could hunt with your bow end of September, and then essentially there's. I know a lot of the units are kind of different in Wyoming, but that's a possibility, right? With places with the general
Yeah.
tag, hunt with the bow, archery ends, rifle starts the next day. Bring your rifle in.
There's a couple of units that have a gap. There's a little bit of a gap
Okay.
where it goes from archery to rifle, but yeah, you could definitely plan it in a way of like Saturday you're hunting with a bow and Sunday you're hunting with a rifle. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of one of my original plans there, but I ended up moving units a little bit, trying somewhere else, and I think I was archery hunting a unit that had a gap between archery and
Okay.
rifle. So for a while, I switched to rifle to a different unit, and then switched unit. I think I hunted like 3 or 4 different units in the time that I was there. So I moved around a lot.
Is
I
that the
like seeing the
first?
country.
Was last year the first year, or is it this coming year where they split up the state?
It was first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you as I'm not as familiar with that. Like, are you? So is that what it is? It's like now the west, the south, and the north, or
East. I think it's
something like
west,
that.
east, and south. Yeah. Like the plains side of there's the plains side of Wyoming. It's all like the eastern half, which is all just wide open flatland. And then there's the west unit, which is like the northwest corner, which is like Yellowstone and Jackson, and then there's the south unit, which is the southeast corner. It's like that one's pretty small in comparison to the other two, but the southwest corner of Wyoming is the
Yeah.
south unit. So they got into 3 sections, and then you can hunt whatever you want. Which I think before it was just a general tag for the entire state.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So just another way for them to split it up. But
mhm,
curious if that's just going to draw like up the western one higher than the other two, because maybe that's
I'm not
more
sure.
popular.
If
I don't
anything
know.
else,
We'll see.
it'll split. I think kind of the same idea Idaho did. It'll split people up a little bit, where you have to choose.
I
So
think so too, because a lot of people coming from back east or down south, they might just want to take that south or eastern part,
mhm.
maybe that south part, like around that whole Laramie area. I don't know. Save the western side for maybe guys like you coming over.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think any way you can split it is, I think, fair. Like Colorado's going, like that's essentially what it is now for their archery tag, to where you got to say where you're going to go. And I mean, I can see how that helps. And when things like this happen, like I try to be optimistic. It's like, okay, if you make things a little bit more like you need to read the fine print, guys like you, guys like me that are like, we'll do anything to go, and we take it seriously, and we respect the the landscape, and we love hunting for what it is. Like, we're gonna figure that out. But I feel like, and I feel like, so like when things like this change, that might actually keep out some of the riffraff, because they're like, well, if I can't go to Walmart and buy my tag, like I'm not even gonna go. And it's like, well,
yeah.
good.
I've definitely
Like,
heard people say that kind of stuff before, where it's like it's too hard. I'm just not even gonna do it. And I'm like, okay.
okay,
But to be
fair.
fair, those aren't the guys that are packing in 3, 4, 5 miles anyways. So
That is true.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely think that the density of the hardcore guys is probably getting a little more dense, the numbers, because it does take a little more effort to figure some of these states out.
Hmm.
Not so much the residents, but the non-residents. The non-resident guys are probably a little more hardcore than the resident guys. Because if someone's coming from Pennsylvania to come hunt Idaho, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of commitment to do what you're doing. So you're not going to show up and drive around your truck and see if you can hopefully find an elk. Like you're like, no, I'm going after it. I'm going to run an ultra marathon. I'm be freaking ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Like an idiot. Yeah.
yeah,
No, some people though, I mean, they like, I mean, I try hard. Like I'm competitive, and all that, but I don't know. Like guys, surprisingly, will come from back east and they'll go out there, drive the roads just like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry that's local to the area. That's all they've been doing. And they come back and they're like, yeah, it sucks. Colorado Parks and Wildlife sucks. Idaho Fishing Game sucks. There's no elk. Like everything sucks. And it's like, well, maybe try backpack hunting and lose 20 pounds.
or don't come back.
Or don't come back. More for us. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I want to hit you with a good question I thought of the other day. So you're a guy that trains hard, shoot your bow a lot, shoot your gun a lot. Just seems like you got your shit tight, you know? If you'd say you had one weakness, if there's something like a part of your game that's like, I really want to work on this off season, so to speak. What do you think that might be?
Scouting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to scout a lot. I used to spend a ton of time finding animals, and I think in Idaho in particular, I've kind of got my spots down. I know where I'm going to go. And so I probably don't spend as much time finding new areas or scouting a little bit. And that's something I actually want to change this year. I want to get out there a little bit more, preseason scout, and kind of find a bull and be more particular about target. Like for a long time, it was like find a buck or find a bull. And I want to switch that into more particular of finding the buck or the bull. And I've definitely let scouting lack the last couple of years because I got my spots. I know where I'm going. I don't need to go waste the gas. This year, I'd like to go spend a little more time poking around a couple new areas, a couple new canyons, and trying to find the bull or the buck or something like that. And really get a little more that, yeah, scouting for sure. I need to get better at scouting.
I think that's key too, because you're also trying to level up, it sounds like, and that's just the natural progression. So there's more
Yeah.
of that input that's going to be required. And it doesn't matter where you're hunting, what you're hunting. I've never regretted scouting too much. I've even
Yeah.
had times where it's like, man, I hunt my whitetails here on public land, like with a hang on stand, kind of run and gun style. Scouting is everything, dude. Like, got to be just such dialed in here. Um, if you want to do that, I always like say I never regretted a scouting trip ever.
No,
Because
absolutely
even
not.
if it's a bad trip, you know where you don't want to go and you're putting an X on the map. And I feel like that is one thing. I mean, yeah, you could always say like never regretted not being in good enough shape, not shooting my bow enough and all those things. But I feel like if anything, if there was any bucket of like what it takes to be a successful hunter, I never want to pull from that scouting bucket. Like, like if I had to pull time away from anything, it might be those, I might not train for an ultra marathon. Like maybe put a little bit more into the scouting thing. I mean,
You're
that's all good
100% right.
stuff too, but I think
Yeah.
some people might get caught up on the shiny object, shooting the bow, the training, and that again, that's so good. And I'm not talking crap. I'm the guy that posts all that stuff. Like I'm like as guilty of it as anybody. But it's like learning your animals, learning your hunt area. It's gonna win every time.
It's probably definitely the most important thing. I mean, it's all important in its own sense, but getting within range of the animal or knowing where they're going to go or whatever. I mean, I've got story after story about I've watched a buck for 2-3 months and he goes left and I go, I know which saddle he's going to. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't scout, I wouldn't know that. And that's what I've been finding the last couple of years. Is I haven't been scouting as much, and I'm going like, all right, the elk are going to the right. I go, I don't know where they're going, and that's kind of was a realization the last couple of years of like, I need to know where they're going. So I can guess all day and be wrong a lot. And there was a couple instances 2 years ago. I have an elk hunting spot that I've been in a fair amount, but I was in a new canyon. I heard them bugling up the ridge, and I think, I think they're going to go to the saddle. Nope, I was wrong. So if I was in the right saddle, I, might have tagged out that day. Scouting's pretty huge. Knowing the trails, knowing all that stuff's pretty huge. But I mean, you can say the same thing for fitness. You got to get there, shooting your bow. You got to be able to draw back and connect when it happens. It's all important. And a lot of the time it's just, man, like how much time between work and family and kids or whatever you got going on. You gotta keep it all even and spread it evenly and not ruin the rest of your life over the obsession, but also, I don't know.
I know you have a good point. If it does get to a point where it's like might need to be a little out of balance for a season sometimes. Yeah. If like you at least want to like make that next little jump. And I'm not saying that's the best way to live life or something, but that's the reality. You got to get a little obsessive over things and take from other things to invest in these things that we love to do. So I don't know. I didn't want to speak for you, but I felt like that was kind of maybe your thought.
With no kids or anything like that, my life's pretty easy to be obsessed over hunting and kind of put all my eggs in one basket. So
I relate to that too. Yeah.
Kind of makes it nice. You got kids or a wife or something like that. You work for 5 days and you're trying to go scout for 2 days and come back to work for 5 days. You might not have a happy wife if you're gone for, a month of scouting and then followed by a month of hunting. And then, kids got T-ball and whatever the hell else. Like it's a lot, man. It's a lot. So luckily I'm fortunate where my life for the last handful of years has been dedicated to all this. And I've had a good job to let me afford to do all these things and afford all the stupid tag increases. And it's, definitely been very, very fortunate in my life going forward and still going forward. It's now full send. My job is to go take pictures and hunt. So it's pretty good.
And that's awesome. So but you work for it. You work your ass off for it. And that's what, I don't know if we said this before we recorded or after, but you're full time with that now too. So congrats to that, dude. That's awesome.
Thanks. Appreciate it. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be busy. But
heck yeah.
Spent a lot of time in the woods this year. It's going to be good.
That's good. That's a good thing. So with that, we'll wrap up. If people want to find your stuff, Instagram, YouTube, where can people find everything you're about? Sounds like you had a lot of good. Well, I did want to throw that in. What's the fall looking like this year? I know we're waiting on, not every state is coming back yet, but
fall for me right now is very much up in the air still. Definitely all the Idaho seasons, archery, elk, and deer, and all the stuff there. But I do a lot of filming for other people as well, and that's how I'm going to be paying the bills going forward. So I might be doing some filming for some other people. It's all kind of very much in the up in the air right now. I have nothing definitive in stone, except for I'm really hoping I draw Nevada deer this year, but I've only got like 30%. I'm just holding out hope.
That ain't nothing. There's a chance. Yeah.
For me, man, I have 98%. That might be the 2, but
I know.
I have shit luck with draw tags. I feel like a lot of people probably think that though. But I should be going back to Wyoming for antelope, and that's probably the only really definitive thing. Everything Idaho, and then Wyoming antelope, and then hopefully I do like that Utah deer tag. I should draw that as well. So I'll be pretty busy between that and filming for other people. I should be pretty cool. So I got because I have Stephen Lauder Media, and then I also have Way Up West Outdoors, and Stephen Lauder Media is me behind the camera, and then Way Up West Outdoors is me in front of the camera, basically for easy figuring. So
Yep. So that's sounds like a big fall coming up. A lot of cool adventures. And Steve, for people that haven't seen, is just like wicked behind the camera, even with like your short
thank
form
you.
content and like the hunt films too. Like just awesome
Thank
stuff.
you.
So that's all Way Up West Outdoors,
Yep.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, Way Up West Outdoors for YouTube and Instagram is definitely the main places I post and keep up content and everything else. All my training and hunting and shooting and all that stuff. Way Up West Outdoors.
Well, sweet dude. Go check all that out. Everybody listening, if you haven't yet. So Steve's just another guy, works hard, gets it done, gets after it in the gym. He's a good follow in the industry. So I thank you for
Thanks,
coming
man.
on, man, and
I
looking
appreciate
forward
having me.
to looking forward to everything you're getting into this year. So good
Head
luck
back
on
at
the
you, man.
Bears too here.
Yeah, you too. Let me know how Idaho goes for you.
Oh, I will. We'll
So,
be in touch.
all right, buddy.
All right, man. See ya. Thanks again for everybody listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Hey, if you liked that episode, please share it with a friend, share it on your story, and give the podcast a rating and a review on wherever you listen. For more of this type of content, you can head over to the YouTube channel and follow along on all the social platforms. Really appreciate it. See you on the mountain.